Let's break down the latest episodes of Good Trouble and find out just what kind of trouble we're getting into. Rise and shine on, you lovely people. Lisa here, and first I just want to say thank you so much for being patient with me. Last week was a very busy one for me, plus I'm still in the process of moving and setting up a new filming space, so things are a little all over the place, so I wasn't able to do the recap for episode, 6, I think, last week. So this one, this video you're watching right now is going to have both episodes last week and this week's in one. So if you don't want to listen to the recap about last week's episode, I'll put the time code down in the description for moving forward. You can also tell I have a little bit of cold or it's allergies. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, it's been a little all over the place, but I'm getting my shit together, and yeah, I'm gonna be better. I promise, guys. But thank you for being patient with me. So yeah, let's first talk about last week's episode, Imposter, and I'll try to be kind of quick with it. So when it comes to Callie, she's been sweating over what to do with the whole Ben-Malika situation, so she decides she's going to come clean. But the problem is, Ben's already first in line to meet with the judge that morning, so she's fearing what happens if Ben gets to tell the judge before she does. But when the judge comes in, he calls Callie in to meet with him first, so she's able to get ahead of the situation, but in her head, she sees herself being fired. Thankfully for her, the conversation actually goes well, and the judge appreciates her candor, and he trusts her that she'll be discreet with the case moving forward. Judge Wilson also, though, asks that Callie doesn't mention his son to Ben and Rebecca, but Callie has to come clean about that, saying she did mention him to them, but she didn't mention why he was home. Now, when Callie leaves the office, she becomes clean to Ben about knowing Malik, and Ben mentions that a previous clerk got taken off a case just for liking the tweet of a friend or something like that. So he knows that she must have something good on Judge Wilson for him to not fire her. So he's kind of like, what's going on? He cancels his meeting with the judge, and he decides to kind of rethink his game plan, I'm guessing. And now Callie has it in her head. She's like, oh, great. So maybe Judge Wilson doesn't want to keep me on because I'm actually a good clerk. He's keeping it so that I keep his secret and he'll keep my secret type thing. Now Callie continues to get advice and hang out with Jamie, and Jamie agrees to snoop around a little and look into Tate, Judge Wilson's son's case, and find out exactly what Tate did. Turns out Tate was charged with a DUI and taking a swing at an officer up at Berkeley. But he thinks that there's no conflict of interest when it comes to the Jamal Thompson case. This all seems to change, though, towards the end of the episode when we find out that the newly appointed LA Chief of Police was the Berkeley Chief of Police. So there might be some kind of conflict now with Judge Wilson and this Jamal Thompson case, especially since it's against cops. Callie also needs Jamie's help when it comes to Gael and his sister Jasmine. Now Jasmine needs a lawyer in order to change her name and gender marker in order to help her make it easier to get a job, and she needs that lawyer because she's been arrested before. Now while she doesn't ask Gael to pay for it, we know that Gael's all about helping his family, so he decides to put his art kind of to the side or on, the back burner for a bit to take a full-time job at Speckulate in order to make money. We then see Jasmine get a job as a waitress at Speculate's party, where her coworker Zeke shows interest in her, and she's upfront about being transgender. Now at first it's kind of like, oh, is this guy going to be awful? But it goes to show you can't really judge a book by its cover, and not all people are out to get you. Turns out Zeke actually genuinely is interested in getting to know Jasmine, and he does stand up for her against Jasmine's boss, and that boss fires her, discriminates against her, and this infuriates Gael. So they decide to consult Callie and Jamie to see if they can open up a case against that caterer, and Jamie says he'll take this case on. And it seems like we might have a little bit of jealousy going on Gael's part, as Jamie seems up to the challenge. He's willing to compete with Gael for Callie, but when Gael sees Callie kissing Jamie through the window, you can tell he's a little upset about it. As far as Davia goes for last week's episode, she isn't too likable lately, honestly, and she ends up going toe-to-toe with Dennis, which he finally gets fed up with her jokes about the girls he's hooking up with. And, well, here's the thing, Davia, if you dish it, you gotta be able to take it, right? But when Dennis fights back and calls her out for dating a married man, yeah, Davia can't take it and runs off crying. Well, that woman that Davia saw Dennis with was actually Dennis's ex-wife, and she stops by to drop off some divorce papers, and she gives them to Davia to take Dennis. So now Davia realizes, oh crap, I have no idea about this guy's life. My big mouth has gotten me into some trouble. So she takes those papers up to Dennis. Dennis and Davia have a, heart to heart, and then they sing a beautiful version of Danny's song together.
Even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey, and everything will bring a chain of love.
As for Mariana, she's still feeling alone at work, and even though Raj genuinely seems like he is sorry for misreading signals, Mariana is just fed up with the whole culture of this workplace, and she's not buying anything anybody's telling her at this point. She does end up getting some one-on-one time with Evan at this party because they're kind of both the outsiders. And the fact that, Evan came to talk to Mariana gives me hope that he'll learn the truth about the jerk who didn't set up the meeting with her like he was supposed to, and he actually becomes an ally for Mariana. And maybe she'll get her chance to shine. Anyway, Mariana's inspired after talk with Casey to send an email to all the women in the office about uniting together to support each other. And I think that pretty much wraps up the main events of episode 6 from last week, which is titled Imposter. So let's not waste any time and move right on into this week's episode, which is titled Swipe Right. It's more of a fun-filled episode if you think about it, a little bit of a lighthearted one compared to some of the ones we've gotten in recent weeks. This episode actually focuses more on the dating lives and puts the work drama finally on the back burner. Another fun fact, this episode was directed by Troy and Belisario, who you might know from Pretty Little Liars. So, for Callie and Gael, they decide to try their hand at not hooking up all weekend so that they can focus on the things they gotta get done. Callie has to focus on studying for the bar, and Gael has to do his art pieces for his art show. And well, as expected, that plan does not go well or last that long. It seems like these two just have each other on the brain and are suffering blocks, whether it's artist block or not being able to study, and the two end up breaking their own rules and hooking up, but ultimately that leads to something worse. They start lashing out at each other and taking some pretty deep cuts at each other about their jobs and whether they're cut out to be a lawyer or an artist and that kind of stuff. This makes them both kind of stop and think, and Callie realizes that if she's always distracted by Gael, then she will become more stressed out and distracted and won't end up passing the bar, and that he also needs to focus on his art show. So maybe they need to take a break from each other, and after the test and the art show, they can finally revisit their relationship. But will these two really be able to, avoid each other? It didn't work for this weekend. Will it work for, a longer stretch of time? It seemed like after the hookup, Callie did a lot better and passed that prep test. So maybe for the hookup with Gael actually helps her concentrate. I don't know, but we'll see how long this little ignoring each other or whatever you want to call it is going to last. All I know is that Gael definitely looks hurt over Callie's decision about this, and his love life is kind of all over the place at this point. And we learned in a flashback that Brian also told Gael that he doesn't want to be casual anymore, he wants to be exclusive. So yeah, will this tiff with Callie, will that cause Gael to run to Brian? Or will Gael just be like, nah, I don't need none of this relationship drama in my life right now. I'm just going to make some art. As for the rest of the ladies, they decide to have a little bit of fun, and they go on the show's version of Tinder and Bumble. I think it's called, what is it called? Shipper? What? I don't remember what it's called. Anyways, and they go and they pick dates for each other. Now, Malika was supposed to participate in this, but at the last minute, she decides to back out, but she's working at the bar where the girls go have their dates. And Alice, Mariana, and Davia, their dates start off horribly. Like, they picked each other's matches, but they really did not match each other that well, so it seems. But Alice's date is the one that actually ends up going from awkward to better first, and I think the date's name is Joey. I could be wrong here. I'm not quite sure. I didn't catch all the names in this episode. Alice, at first, it's awkward with this Joey girl, and then all of a sudden they start talking and become more comfortable with each other, and it seems like they really mesh. So they go back to Alice's loft for a long time, but they're interrupted by, of course, Sumi, who comes crying to Alice that Mira called off the wedding. Now, Sumi wants to stay the night and talk with Alice, but when she sees that Alice has a date there, Alice tells Sumi that she can't be there right now. And I was like, ugh. At that point, I was like, come on, Alice, please tell Sumi to leave. Please tell her to leave. And I'm so glad that Alice did, and I kind of like let out a little fist bump in the air, because I was like, yes, Alice is standing up for herself. She's learning that this is a toxic relationship. But unfortunately, Sumi still consumes Alice. She has this hold on her because Alice is so distracted by Sumi that during her makeout with Joey, Joey can pick up on it, and she's like, you're not really here with me right now. So she ends up leaving, and then we see that Alice and Sumi do spend the night together, which looks like it's in a platonic way. But the next morning, when Mira calls, Sumi is immediately back on the Mira train and is like, I love you, yeah. They make up and they're like, let's get married. And it feels like Alice was once again going to be super heartbroken and just like go mope around. But I finally think Alice is actually moving on, and she's over Sumi. Maybe not completely over, but getting up that hill to being over Sumi, because we see Alice call into her date's radio show to inquire about a second date, and it looks like Alice is moving on up. Or moving on forward? As for Mariana, she ends up on a date with a self-absorbed douchebag, but there's this guy across the bar that keeps eyeing her, and he comes to Mariana's rescue pretending to be her ex, wanting her back. They end up talking for a long time, and then this guy gets a call from his girlfriend, and it's like, oh, Great, all the good ones are taken, right? Yeah, that's relatable, I gotta say. But then things get weird when they invite Mariana over, and Mariana looks kind of shocked to find out later that this couple wants a threesome. But it's like, come on, Mariana, you could smell this miles away. No guy gets a call from his girlfriend and she's like totally cool with another hot girl coming over. Like, yeah, no, this definitely threesome from the get-go. Anyway, Mariana decides what the hell she's gonna live a little and has the threesome. But in the morning, things get super awkward when she wakes up and makes out with Eli. Laura storms in mad because they're only allowed to do that when each other is present. So Mariana just books it the hell out of there. And yeah, it's a pretty crazy situation. But you know what it does? It lets Mariana return to the loft, and she has this new pep in her step that we have not seen her have since the start of this show. And she tells Callie that, she's actually feeling good now because she's been feeling rejected since they moved to LA. So it was nice, at least for a night, to have her be the center of attention again, because we all know Mariana loves being the center of attention. As for Davia, she's set up with a guy named Paul, but she's of course still hung up on Jeff, the married guy, who says he had to cancel his trip to LA. Now, while Paul does not seem to be Davia's type at all, she decides to give him this social media makeover and help him out a bit, help him build up some self-confidence. And while she's scrolling on Facebook, she finds out Jeff has lied to her and is in LA, and of course keeps lying to her over text about where he is. So Davia decides it's time to get revenge, and she and Paul go and have revenge sex, and then she sends a picture of them to Jeff asking how the Lakers game was, calling him out. So yeah, she tells the girls the next morning she's done with Jeff, and all I gotta say is I sure as hell hope so, Davia. Please let that guy go. You are better than that. As for Malika, she also gets some love in this episode. Now, when they're originally picking dates, scrolling through the dating app, her and Davia swipe right on a guy named Isaac, but he doesn't swipe right for her. Then it just so happens that he walks into the bar on that date night and he doesn't recognize Malika at all, so she decides to give him a taste of his own medicine. And all I gotta say is that I freaking love Malika's friends in this episode. They are hilarious, and I would listen to commentary from them all day long.
That's right. You keep on waiting over there with your nice shoulders. How dare you swipe left on my girl? You think you all that? I got him my, oh shit, here he comes.
Anyway, Isaac ends up trying to get Malika's attention, and they have an intense conversation about rom-coms and romance movies. And you know what? Isaac won me over a little bit in this conversation because he has a very impressive knowledge of the genre. For a guy, I know that's a stereotype, but he really does have a really good knowledge of the genre. Now, when it's finally last call at the bar, Isaac asks for her number, but Malika says no, and then brings up how he swiped left on her and overlooked her, and now here he is thinking he can get with her in person. And she knows she probably doesn't look like his other matches, so, he was way too quick to judge a book by its cover, and she kind of tries to put him in his place, which she does, because when they look at his matches, they're pretty much all white women or light-skinned women, so she was right that doesn't seem like on that app he's usually into women like her. So to prove that he's sorry and interested in her, he returned to the basketball because he's figured out Malika's favorite movie is Love and Basketball, and he challenges her to a game of one-on-one. If he wins, she goes on a date with him, and if she wins, he'll never set foot in that bar again. And well, just like a rom-com, you kind of know how this is gonna end, right? Malika ends up winning, but they end up having their happy ending, and it seems like she's gonna see him again. And well, I think that pretty much wraps up the events of last week's episode and this week's episode. We have Davia and Alice who have seemed to finally hit that point where they're ready to move on from those exes and hopefully love themselves some more and figure things out. We have Mariana who gained a little bit back of herself, her old self, her confidence, and we have Malika who may have found love while things are grim on the love front for Callie and Gael. But I feel like they need this little break because they've just been consumed by the passion that they have, which you can't deny the passion and the chemistry, but they also got other things they have to focus on. And, is this relationship going to be a good one, a toxic one? How is this going to work? For now, though, let's take a look at the trouble that's coming in the next episode.
I actually made plans with that girl that I met the other night. I asked her to meet me here. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Hey, Becca, these are my sisters, Mariana and Callie.
Hello, Noah Centineo. That's right, you can say it. Jesus is back, and of course, he's not going to show up without some trouble, right? Of all people in Los Angeles he could meet and hook up with, it's Becca, right? Who we see as Callie's mortal enemy. Maybe not as much of an enemy maybe as Ben at this point, but I can't wait to see how Callie handles this situation, and maybe we'll get to learn more about Rebecca. She seems to have some sides that we haven't seen of her yet, and I think ultimately I would like for her and Callie to actually be friends, and maybe there's just misunderstanding between them. And mainly it's because I'm tired of, shows or whoever pitting women against women. It happens a lot, especially in the workplace, kind of a thing. So I'd love to see these two kind of get along. Maybe take down Ben, you know what I'm saying? And with that, I think that pretty much wraps up this week's episode of What Happened. So thank you guys for being patient with me, sticking around and listening to me ramble about 2 weeks worth of episodes. Sound off in the comments down below and let me know what you think will happen next in Mariana's work situation and her work relationship with Evan. Do you think Gael and Callie can actually keep things platonic, or will Gael run into Brian's arms and Callie run into Jamie's? And which of the characters do you want to learn more of? Let me know. Then don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, and then check out more videos right over here, because I try to make videos as often as I can because you guys are awesome. I'm Lisa. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you again next time.